Welcome to our deep dive into the collapse of the Soviet Union. Today, we'll explore the key factors that led to one of the most significant events of the 20th century. For nearly 75 years, the USSR stood as a superpower, a symbol of communist ideology and a rival to the capitalist West. Its collapse in 1991 sent shockwaves around the world, reshaping the geopolitical landscape. But the seeds of this dramatic event were sown long before the Berlin Wall fell. Over the next few chapters, we'll unravel the complex tapestry of internal and external pressures that brought down this giant, examining the economic stagnation, political reforms, rising nationalism, and ideological struggles that ultimately led to its demise. Chapter 1. The Crumbling Foundation, Economic Stagnation in the USSR. To understand the Soviet Union's collapse, we must first look at its economic woes. Imagine a system where the government controlled every aspect of the economy. That was the Soviet command economy. Centralized planning led to chronic shortages of consumer goods. People spent hours in lines for basic necessities. The arms race with the United States drained resources. Soviet industries fell behind their Western counterparts. The result? A stagnant economy that couldn't provide for its people. Chapter 2. A crack in the system, Gorbachev's reforms. By the mid-1980s, the Soviet Union was like a pressure cooker about to explode. Enter Mikhail Gorbachev, a relatively young and reform-minded leader who recognized the urgent need for change. Gorbachev introduced two key reforms, Perestroika and Glasnost. Perestroika aimed to restructure the stagnant Soviet economy by introducing elements of market mechanisms. The goal was to improve efficiency and boost production. Glasnost, meaning openness, aimed to increase transparency and freedom of expression. It loosened censorship, allowing for greater public discourse and criticism of the government, something previously unthinkable. These reforms, while well-intentioned, had unintended consequences. Perestroika led to economic disruptions and shortages as the old system struggled to adapt. Glasnost, while liberating, also opened a Pandora's box of long-suppressed grievances and nationalist sentiments. People, emboldened by newfound freedoms, began openly criticizing the government and demanding more rights. The Communist Party, used to absolute control, found itself facing unprecedented dissent. Gorbachev's reforms, meant to save the Soviet Union, ironically hastened its demise by exposing the deep cracks within the system and unleashing forces beyond his control. Chapter 3. The Empire Unravels. The Rise of Nationalism. The Soviet Union wasn't a monolithic entity, it was a vast empire composed of diverse republics, each with its own history, culture, and language. For decades, these national identities were suppressed under the banner of Soviet unity. However, as the central government weakened and its grip loosened, these suppressed national identities resurfaced with a vengeance. Across the Soviet republics, from the Baltics to the Caucasus, people began demanding greater autonomy and even independence. In the Baltics, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, the call for freedom was particularly strong. These nations, forcibly annexed by the Soviet Union during World War II, saw an opportunity to break free. Meanwhile, other republics, while not necessarily seeking full independence, demanded greater control over their own affairs. They resented Moscow's dominance and yearned for self-determination. The rise of nationalism, fueled by Glasnost, and the weakening of the central authority, fractured the Soviet Union along its historical fault lines. The once united empire was now a collection of increasingly centrifugal forces, pulling in different directions. Chapter 4. The Soul of an Empire, the Decline of Ideological Legitimacy. Every empire, every system of government relies on a certain degree of legitimacy. For the Soviet Union, that legitimacy stemmed from communist ideology, the promise of a classless society, economic equality, and a workers' paradise. However, as the decades passed, the gap between ideology and reality widened. The economic stagnation, shortages, and corruption eroded people's faith in the communist system. The ideals that once inspired millions seemed increasingly hollow in the face of lived experience. Glasnost further accelerated this decline in ideological legitimacy. With greater freedom of expression, people could openly discuss the shortcomings and failures of the Soviet system. Dissidents, once silenced, found their voices amplified. This disillusionment wasn't limited to the general population. Even within the Communist Party itself, cracks began to appear. Many members, especially younger ones, grew disillusioned with the party's corruption and inability to address the country's problems. The Soviet Union's ideological foundation, already weakened by economic failures, crumbled further as its own people and even some of its leaders lost faith in its promises. Chapter 5: The Pressure Cooker. External pressures and the Soviet Union. While internal factors played a crucial role in the Soviet collapse, external pressures also contributed to its demise. The decades-long Cold War with the West, while often more symbolic than kinetic, took a heavy toll on the Soviet Union's resources and economy. The relentless arms race, with both sides accumulating massive nuclear arsenals, drained the Soviet economy. Maintaining a vast military and competing with the United States in areas like space exploration required enormous expenditures, further straining the already struggling Soviet economy. Furthermore, the global economic environment presented challenges to the Soviet model. The rise of globalization and free trade exposed the inefficiencies of the centralized Soviet economy. The Soviet Union, increasingly isolated, struggled to compete in the global marketplace. Moreover, the success of capitalist economies in the West, particularly in terms of living standards and technological innovation, stood in stark contrast to the stagnation and shortages experienced by Soviet citizens. This only fueled the discontent brewing within the Soviet Union. By the late 1980s, facing a combination of internal and external pressures, the Soviet Union resembled a pressure cooker nearing its breaking point. Chapter 6: The Final Act, the Coup, the Collapse, and the Legacy. By 1991, the Soviet Union was in a state of advanced disintegration. In August 1991, hardline communist officials staged a coup, placing Gorbachev under house arrest. The coup met with widespread resistance. Within days, the coup collapsed, marking a turning point. On December 25, 1991, the Soviet flag lowered for the last time over the Kremlin. The Soviet Union ceased to exist, replaced by 15 newly independent states. The collapse serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked authoritarianism. The echoes of an empire. The collapse of the Soviet Union was a momentous event that continues to shape the world today. From the rise of new geopolitical realities to the ongoing struggles of former Soviet republics, the echoes of this empire's demise reverberate across the globe. Understanding the factors that led to its collapse provides valuable insights into the complexities of history, the interplay of economics and politics, and the enduring human desire for freedom and self-determination. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more historical insights. See you next time.